Welcome to Page One, the show for writers with the reader in mind. Here's your host, Zita Christian.
Hi everyone, welcome to Page One. I'm Zita Christian. My guest tonight is the author of a book called Second Career Volunteer. It is a passionate and penny-wise approach to retirement. It is also a first-hand account of a lifestyle worth investigating, and that's even if you're not interested in retiring. She has tips for people of all ages. Please join me in welcoming my friend, Barbara Traynor. Barbara, thanks for coming to be on the show.
Thank you for having me, Zita.
I know we've tried a couple times over the last year to get your schedule to coincide because you travel a lot, and that's something that is very ties in nicely here to the whole idea of the book, Second Career Volunteer. This is so interesting. So we're going to get into the content and everything, but I want to start because I'm afraid there might be some people in the audience who are going, well, I'm not ready to retire. This isn't for me. Oh, but it is. Who should be reading this book?
Well, as you said, it says retirement, and when I first wrote it, I was aiming to retirees. However, I've since found out that college students out looking for jobs can use this lifestyle. I've had the unemployed come up to me and say, hey, you know, I've been out of a job for a year and a half. I'm going to try this because I can be somewhere without paying room and board. So you work out your arrangements with the organization, but you do get room and board in return for your skills.
So let's talk specifically about what that is. This book is about volunteering someplace that pays you a stipend, gives you room and board, and you do something.
Second Career Volunteer is a lifestyle that I found out about. I just fell into. It's volunteering with organizations that offer free room and board in exchange for your workplace or hobby skills. It's either librarian or maintenance, or in my case, administrative assistant. As an administrative assistant for 40-odd years, I accumulated various skills, computer and business skills. So that's what I bring to the organization. Someone else may be a librarian. Someone else may do accounting. Or
could it also be somebody who maybe is a carpenter?
A carpenter, maintenance, carpenter, plumber, painting. A friend of mine loved to do painting, and they love that. Even in putting on a new roof. And gardening, landscaping, if you can rake leaves, visitor center, gift shop.
Okay, so are there that many organizations like that out there that that want volunteers, are willing to have volunteers?
There are. This is the reason I wrote the book is because it's a word of mouth network. I started doing this and I met so many people, but it was all word of mouth. So about 2 years into it, I thought, I need to make, some other people need to become aware of this.
Barbara, before you did it, I remember when we talked, we were both members of the Connecticut Romance Writers chapter. And I remember you're talking about it, saying that you were getting ready to retire and you were, what am I going to do? Just not sure, that.
And also, the penny-wise comes in. I was an administrative assistant for 40-odd years, but a single parent most of those years. So you don't accumulate any money, and you don't get to travel. So I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice in retirement if I could travel?
Yes.
But then I thought, well, how can I do that? I really don't. I'm going to be on Social Security income. So I received a fortuitous email.
Yes.
When I was the year before I was going to retire. I had to wait till I was 65 because I needed Medicare.
Right.
And so I'm 64. I'm thinking I'm going to have to work till I'm 110. But I got this email from someone I knew up in Alaska. They had an RV, and they were hooking up at a small college. And they said, this organization supplements their staff with volunteers offering free room and board. So I began to rethink retirement. But I've since been to many other organizations, and they have all kinds of volunteers. They have day volunteers, and they have long-term volunteers that involve housing.
So you get this email saying there's a college up here in Alaska and they're looking for volunteers. And what was your initial thought? Did you say, Alaska, are you kidding? I'm not going to go that far? Or did you say...
I had been at home. Yes, why not an adventure?
Sure.
I mean, why should I stay home if I have the opportunity to go to Alaska?
Yeah.
And since then, I've been to Florida and New Mexico and Arkansas. So I'm having a great time.
Now, when you go to these other places, you're bringing your administrative skills. And
Yes.
So when you go, how long do you stay at each place?
I volunteered for a year in Alaska because that was my first time. And I had, personally, I needed to justify driving to Alaska because I retired in July, and in August I got in the car and drove to Alaska.
Wow.
So I stayed the whole year, and that was wonderful. I mean, I had a whole year in Alaska.
Whereabouts in Alaska were you?
Sitka. I was not in the interior where it's 40 below. I was in Sitka, not lower than 26 degrees. And it's a rainforest. It was just a wonderful experience. Met so many other volunteers. The dark time was a little trying, but
Yes.
you have a lot of things to do during the dark time. One of the things is making moccasins.
And I saw these gorgeous moccasins that you brought here.
At the smallest national park, the Totem Park in Sitka, Margaret Gross Hope is a member of the Tlingit tribe. And she taught two of us how to make moccasins. We did the beading on the front. It's a Tlingit pattern. And then you had to sew them with sinew, and we did them the old-fashioned way. Sure, it took a little while, but we had a few months of darkness. So. The sun was up at 9 in the morning. It was a light at 9, but it was dark at 3. So you had a lot of time to use. And they had other things to do. And we went kayaking and hiking. And all too soon my year was up, and I drove back. And then since then I've gone to other organizations. And yes, especially in these financial times, where, as I said, the college students graduate, and if they don't have a job, they can go to, say, Heifer International in Arkansas.
Yes.
And Heifer, as you know, I believe you're familiar with Heifer?
Yes.
They're an organization, been around since the 40s, help communities in the United States and around the world become self-sustaining through gifts of livestock or trees or bees. Well, they have a huge learning center 30 miles north of Little Rock in Arkansas.
Oh.
And they need quite a few volunteers. Students come in there on a regular basis, from daycare through college break, to learn what I call the economics of poverty. Heifer teaches them about where other third world and other countries, where their T-shirt comes from, the benefits of recycling, who has the wealth, who has the trash. It's a wonderful program. And I've been back there 3 times. And there are college students there who come out, and it's a multi-generational, multicultural atmosphere. You may travel there alone, or you may travel with your spouse. I mean, there are married couples that do this, but once you get there, you're right in a community of like-minded individuals. Any multi-generational, multicultural.
And is that pretty much the same for all of the places you've
Yes.
been? So a couple things occur to me. What happens, for instance, you said your very first experience, you committed to a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty big. But I understand you were going all the way to Alaska. That
Yes.
makes sense. What would have happened if you decided this doesn't work and you wanted to leave? What are the consequences?
Nothing. You're a volunteer.
Oh, okay.
It's not. It's a job. You have a work schedule. You have responsibilities. But it's to a volunteer's mind, others that I've spoken to, because in the book, between every chapter is an interview with another volunteer or a couple, because I wanted people to know I'm not the only one doing this.
Yes.
But if something goes wrong, if your health deteriorates, if it doesn't work out, if it isn't the right lifestyle for you, you go talk to the volunteer coordinator. And if you have to leave, you leave. It isn't like you have a contract with, you have a contract, you're a word of mouth contract.
It's the shake hand.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
But if you cannot fulfill your responsibilities, then you discuss what the circumstances are, and they hopefully replace you with someone else.
You know, it occurred to me when you were talking about how college students might benefit from this, that not only is this an exciting lifestyle and very practical in terms of having an organization providing a place to stay and food,
Yes.
And in, I think, most cases, a stipend, but for the college students, and like I said, and I've got a couple nieces and nephews who are, it's tough right now. There's the opportunity to make connections, to network, to travel, and have an experience to say, oh, I might like to live in this part of the country where maybe I had never considered it before.
That is one of the aspects, yes. They can discover where they are. They don't have any income, but they don't have outgo. And they don't have to live with mom and dad. And while they are sending out resumes, they are adding to their resume. Because their experience, whatever they're doing, whether they're doing livestock at Heifer or tutoring students at Manal School or, whatever their responsibilities are, they can add that onto their resume. And when the employer receives it, that, well, they're still working, they're volunteering, but they're adding to their experience while they're working.
And I think the fact that they're volunteering speaks volumes about their sense of community and the idea of what can I contribute, what can I do to make the world a better place.
Yes. I mean, I get back far more than I give.
Now, I know when you were working, you had, as with most of us, the 37 and a half or 40-hour schedule. So what was the change in the various volunteer positions, and was it hard to get used to? Was it, well, I'm only working 20 hours and suddenly I've got all this time, or was it putting in another 40 hours, or was it up to you?
You discuss your schedule with the volunteer coordinator. You coordinate your skills and responsibilities and time parameters with their needs.
I was going to say, because part of the whole idea of volunteering is I'm not going to have a schedule anymore.
Right.
I can do whatever I want. Well, sure, if you have the money and the resources and the health and all those other things. But the idea of having another schedule I can see where it would have appeal.
You have a schedule, but it's a schedule of your own making and of your own time frame. If you want to volunteer for 3 weeks, you can volunteer for 3 weeks. I choose, after the initial year, I cut it down to 6 months and 6 months. I leave Albany, New York in January. That's not rocket science, And I come back the end of May. It's beautiful. So I'm away for the worst part of the winter, but then I come back after the spring, and it's lovely. So I'm somewhere else, usually, Albuquerque or Arkansas, or a little less snow and ice. But you speak to the coordinator and you agree to work 40, 30 hours. You do have weekends, evenings to interact with the community, with the other volunteers. You have free time that's your own. Well,
so this I can see this side of the picture. Here's how it helps you, and the things it provides for the person who is either at that point of retiring or the college student and can't find the job, or even somebody who has been working and has lost a job.
Correct.
Here's a great opportunity. But what about the organizations themselves? What kind of person are they looking for?
They're looking for someone there's 3 factors.
Okay.
Patience, flexibility, and compromise. To me, that's life.
That's life skills.
However, whatever skills you have, they can generally fit into their needs. I mean, if friends from the Upper Peninsula come down to Heifer for, I believe, 8 weeks, February into March, and they were educators. They do livestock. They help feed baby goats and sheep and birth them and muck out stalls and do fencing.
It's work.
They do manual labor, but if you want to do that. Other friends that I know, he loves to paint. Paint walls. And then there are people who like to work in the garden. And you can do
cook?
that too.
Okay.
Or you can help in the kitchen. Or whatever you're looking to do. In the book also is organizational evaluation and a personal one. Because through doing this for a while, it helps to know what your expectations are, so that you can clearly discuss them. What do you want for housing? How many hours do you want to work? What are your skills? And then you can write all this, fill in the blank, and you can also ask the correct questions of the organization.
Did you bring, when you went to Alaska, knowing you were going to be gone a year, did you pack your car with personal items and things that you would, create your own little nest?
I took some things to Alaska because I knew everything there comes in by ship. And it's a little more expensive. So if I wanted something like a particular kind of hair color,
yes,
I took that with me because I didn't know what shopping would be up there.
Sure.
So a few things I did take with me. Now there's Walmart is everywhere, and if you pack layers of clothing, and if you need something, there's always a thrift store.
Oh, wonderful! Of course.
I
Consignment shops
love
everywhere.
consignment shops and thrift stores.
Yeah.
You can go get a shirt for $2, or like in Alaska, a pair of drapes to put over the window during the daylight time.
The eternal daylight.
Yes. So it's things
And then you can
like
leave
that.
it behind.
Yes, you do. You wash whatever you did, return it to the store.
Barbara, let's think about. Let's suppose here's a person who has a year to go. Let's say they're planning on retiring at 65. A person's 64, and they're thinking, I might like this. This sounds like something I want to investigate. What should they be doing? What kind of planning has to happen in the year before this second career volunteer gets activated?
Well, first of all, before they even talk to a volunteer coordinator, if they have a spouse, they need to coordinate what the spouse, what their goals are, or what their expectations are of the future.
Sure.
Secondly, it's housing. If you have a house, whether someone can oversee it for a month if you decide to go somewhere. If it's longer than that, I know friends who rent out their houses. But it's what you're comfortable with.
So it's whatever you're leaving behind
Yes.
has to be addressed as well.
What you're leaving
Sure.
behind has to, and then you can go forward by contacting someone and starting to discuss, oh, well, I would like to, but what time of the year do I want to go? What time do you need someone? Can I come during this particular time? And this is what I can offer you. And the volunteer coordinator says, okay, if the person wants to, as I did, I just simply sold my condo, put some stuff in
I
storage.
remember that.
And I was homeless for a year. But I have 3 children, so I thought when I came back, I can bunk with them. And I did. And now I have an in-law arrangement with my son up near Albany.
So what do you do for mail? I mean, do you have
you
a
can just
post office box
just
or
go
what?
to the post office and forward your mail. Just put in a change of address thing.
Okay.
That's all.
So
And medications, you can do this. You can do mail with that. If someone has medications, you can do it by mail.
now a minute ago, you talked about the fact that you have found that the 6 month schedule works best for you. So you live in the Albany area. You leave Albany in January. So you come back at some point in June. Do you then take a little time off?
I don't have to
little,
because
or-
I don't really have a work schedule in Albany. In Albany, I belong to the League of Women Voters. I also belong to some book clubs at the library. I belong to the Y. And one thing I have to say, if when you get your supplemental insurance, be sure there is a Silver Sneakers program.
Oh yes, let's talk about that.
The Silver Sneakers is the greatest thing. It's preventative medicine. It's a free gym membership.
And this is a Medicare
Over
supplement.
65, yeah. If you're over 65, just make sure your supplemental has Silver Sneakers. Because you can go to any gym. All I do is put in the zip code of wherever I'm going, and they say you can go here, 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 and I can just go exercise and take any. It's not just the Silver Sneakers classes. You can do anything you want in the gym.
Barbara, you are amazing. You are so inspiring. And any plans for you to slow down at all?
I'll do this as long as I can. New Year's Eve, I leave for Alabama for Russell Cave National Monument. That's in
Ooh.
the national park system. Usually, you have to have an RV, but they have 2 houses. So I'm going to have share a 2-bedroom house with a woman from Canada.
Oh, how nice.
Isn't it wonderful?
It really is. Now, you have a lot of information about this on your website.
Yes, I do.
You have a blog, excuse me, you have a newsletter.
Yes.
You give out a lot of information, so there's a lot more. I mean, the book is filled with information, and if you're just joining us, it's page 1. I'm Zita Christian, and I'm talking with my friend Barbara Traynor. She's written a phenomenal book called Second Career Volunteer, not just for people who are retiring.
No.
So this idea of slowing down, which you are not going to do, and the idea now of going to a national park. The earlier in the interview, you mentioned that when you got started, there was nothing written down. There was no network, so everything was word of mouth. Now that you have written the book, now that you have a newsletter, now that you have a blog, and you have a lot of followers, and you give out a lot of very useful information, what kind of response are you getting?
It really is quite gratifying. I did self-publish the book because I was told by an agent that the targeted audience wasn't large enough.
Okay,
so
let's say that one more time. They said the
targeted audience wasn't large enough. They're
Oh my
called
gosh.
boomers. Anyway, so I decided this was important enough, so I self-published, and I pretty much sold the amount that I sold. So I have to feel that someone is interested.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
people, I do have the newsletter, as you said, once a month that I send out as to what I'm doing. But there is a lot of information on the website. And there even are some, in the back of the book is an A to Z index of organizations' websites to start with. So you do have to do your research. You have to find out where you fit in.
Well, how do you do that? I mean, what? Give me some samples of some of the questions that a person should ask as they're doing this research.
The first thing you want to know is, can you use my skills? I was a carpenter in life. I was a librarian. Do you have use for those skills? If they say yes, fine. Okay, well, what's the work schedule? You know, how many hours am I supposed to work? I don't want to work 40 hours a week. Do you have
a
to
minimum?
work?
Yeah.
Do you have a minimum? Do you have a maximum? And is there a better time frame for me to come? I'd like to come in May. They say, well, yes, we use people in May, or well, we really would prefer you to come in March or September. You have to work all that out. You start by asking those kinds of questions.
Well, let me ask too. A minute ago, you mentioned that in the next adventure, you're going to be sharing a 2-bedroom house with a woman from Canada. What are the accommodations usually like? Is it that nice, or are you in like big dorms?
Well, you don't
or?
expect 5-star hotel.
Okay, I kinda
However,
figured that.
It's usually furnished early attic, but
Okay.
everything has always been clean and comfortable. Bedding is provided. There's usually a washer dryer. You have a kitchen that if you wish to cook. Oh, and if they do not, most organizations, if they do not give you 3 meals a day, they do give you a small stipend for the other 2. You need to ask that question too.
All
you
right.
need to ask, are you going to give me 3 meals or only 1? And what do I do for the other 2? And where's a grocery store?
Yes, yeah. Well, the accommodations, though, still another question. Do you have privacy?
Yes, because you have your own, no matter the communal areas, living room, kitchen, are communal, interactive. You always have your own room to go to.
Oh, nice.
So you have your private room, and usually I've always had a bathroom either in the room or just adjacent to it. And I did not, only in Alaska did I share a bathroom with one other person. But I think with the 2-bedroom house, I will probably share a bathroom with this one person. But that's only 2 of us.
Yeah, that's nice. Barbara, what would you consider the most amazing aspect of this whole volunteer experience?
The fact that I can do this and not spend a lot of money.
I think it's amazing.
I mean, yes, I have to pay the upkeep for my car and the car insurance and the gas to get there because I prefer to drive. You can take a plane or a train or a bus and arrange beforehand to be picked up. That you can do. Most college students do. And at Heifer, they have a van, so that if people have to go somewhere, if you have over 4 people, you can take their van and go into town and shop or do something. And volunteers are always, there's always somebody with a car. But I like to have my own car. But those are my only expenses, unless I want to buy some souvenir or I want to go out to dinner or something.
Have you maintained friendships
Oh,
with people
yes.
you've met?
Yes. I took, my parameters driving to Alaska were like 3 weeks, because I had to catch a ferry at Prince Rupert and get to Alaska at a certain time. Coming back, I took 7 weeks. And I had met so many people, and because of volunteers and family and friends, I only paid for 1 hostel and 1 hotel.
Oh my gosh.
It's
Oh my
amazing.
gosh.
I could not believe how many people, and no matter where I go now, when I take off to go to Alabama, my first stop is in Richmond. That's a volunteer friend. The second stop is Charleston, who is a longtime friend. Then I hop across to a cousin in Hayesville, and then it's 3 hours to Russell Cave.
Oh my gosh. You know, the title of the book is so perfect. Second Career, Volunteer. And you describe it as this, about a lifestyle. And it really is a lifestyle. What was the response from your family when you first told them that you were going to do this show? I'm going to take off and go to Alaska for a year, and I'm...
Right.
Yeah.
No, my children, having been a single parent, and we were very close, they said, go for it, it's your turn.
Good. Oh,
And
how
I
nice.
have my cell phone, and I have my AAA card.
And
I'm
your silver sneakers.
and sensible about driving so many hours solo.
Yeah.
But once I get there, I'm in a whole community. I'm not by myself anymore. And it's not like a vacation. You can incorporate 2 weeks into a vacation just to try it. Go ahead and try it. Ask questions. But you just have this unique experience of being somewhere for a longer period of time and being able to investigate. Like the Southwest, or like Florida,
Yeah.
or somewhere.
So do you know at this point where you're going to go after this next volunteer experience?
No, I'm just as far as Russell Cave National Monument in Alabama.
Is that your preference? I mean, do you like to wait till the last minute kind of?
Well, no, while I'm there, I will decide, because it's my first time
Okay.
there, whether I can return.
All right, Barbara, this is wonderful. I'm so enjoying this, and I want to know a lot more. I can't wait to read the book. I'm already signed up for the newsletter. I love it. Thanks very much for being on the show and sharing all of this with the viewers. And for you in the viewing audience, thank you, too, for joining me. I close, as always, with the words of the fantasy writer Ursula Le Guin, who said, "There have been civilizations that did not use the wheel, but there have been no civilizations that did not tell stories. So find your story, like Barbara did, and find a way to tell it. But do join us again next time. Thank you."
Food for the crew and guests was provided by Manchester Grill of Manchester, Connecticut, and Angelo's Restaurant of Glastonbury, Connecticut. Be sure to send your writing questions and your comments on the book club selection to Zita at page 1, P.O. Box 1515, Manchester, Connecticut, 06045-1515, or send an email to Zita at page1tv.com.